with disclosure ramping up like never before, with the release of more files from the government, what exactly is the grey ET agenda for Earth? Well, I suspect that there are many different agendas, but we're going to talk about that and more on ATP Media today with the wonderful Jeff Selver, who's returning. We had a conversation with him a couple of years ago, so he's back and we're going to discuss that. Stay tuned.
You got to accentuate the positive. Wow, I feel good. A little bit of feel good goes a long way.
You're listening to Karen Swain, teacher of deliberate creation, accentuating the positive, showing you a way to a better life.
Accentuating the positive, it's not just fad, it's sanity. Who in their right mind would accentuate anything else?
If you feel like that's what you want to do.
G'day, and welcome to another show, Accentuating the Positive with Karen Swain. E.T. We're talking aliens, we're talking E.T., we're talking all sorts of things today with Jeff Selver. Welcome back to the show, Jeff.
Yeah, awesome, Karen. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah.
And just say g'day to Searching Girl here, 109. Happy Mother's Day to everybody. I forgot again because it was Mother's Day because I'm down here in Sydney, Australia. It was Mother's Day for us yesterday. Just saying to Jeff, I forget that you have the same Mother's Day as us because often these holidays, Father's Day is a completely different day overseas as it is down under. But I suspect that many people are having Mother's Day lunches or afternoons or dinners, and maybe it will not be live online. I didn't think about that when I booked this show, I have to say. Mm-hmm. But for all those mothering energies, both male and female, happy Mother's Day. Yeah, we had a great conversation last time. Jeff was on the show, 2004, right? 2004. So 2020,
maybe
24, sorry, 24,
yeah.
2000. And let me tell you a little bit about Jeff. He's got a couple of books out. Let me bring these up, but which we're going to get into more today, The Rising and the Alien Plan to Build Enlightened Cities on Earth. Last time we spoke, we got into your story and what happened, and we didn't get so much into the byline and the alien plan to build enlightened cities on Earth. So I'd love to get into that today. And last time, again, we spoke, you were working on this one, the Rising Workbook, how to create your own rising, which I'd love to discuss with you again today. Nice. But for people who don't know, Jeff, what happened to my page that I had for you? Yeah, Jeff is still working in the corporate world, and it says in your bio, suddenly at the age of 41, screen memories came to light, or broken memories of unbelievable alien contact began to open in your mind, and you would learn the details of traumatic events which happened when you were a teenager and a young adult, and also understand your understanding as a genetic activation, understanding the origins of these events opened up a lifetime of obscure memories of alien contact. And yeah, we can go into that a little bit. Do you want to go over that, or should we just get into what's in the book?
Whatever you like. I can always do a summary. It's pretty normal, actually. Yeah. So that
we'll do a summary. Yeah, do a summary of what happened for these memories to come back, or what happened when the memories came back.
Yeah, you got it. So it was basically the whole story centers around a consciousness event that happened to me when I was 20 years old in 1997. And that's how I frame it without having a real proper word for it, a consciousness event. My inner world had altered, and yeah, God awareness was a part of it. But bizarre things like seeing the cells of my body having light in them. And it was combined with a message to leave my life. And that's where some of the weirdness started. So I eventually listened to that, and then I started traveling. And when I started traveling, I started seeing orbs and objects in the sky. It lasted for about 2.5 years, and they seemed to follow me around. Now, when you see these things, you think it's related to your spirituality. So that's how I kind of framed it at the time. and like maybe there were spirit beings or something. I didn't really understand what was going on. And then 2.5 years into traveling, I met my to-be wife, and then that was it. It all ended. All those kind of objects in the sky, it all kind of stopped. Then about 2016, I started to question what that period of my life was all about. I didn't quite understand it. And then just kind of, it was percolating, let's say that. And I definitely didn't have any ideas in my head about aliens or UFOs. 2019 came around. I always credit Jeremy Corbell's documentary on Bob Lazar as the documentary that started making me take UFOs seriously. And I dug up a YouTube channel that has people's videos of anomalous objects they filmed. And when I did that, I started watching that. The objects I saw traveling came back. And then that was the beginning of a weird, what is going on? And making a connection between that period of my life back in when I was 20 something with, why is it being connected to this idea of like aliens or something? And I didn't quite understand it. And so there's this whole story here that's all kind of laid out in the book. That's the point of the book. But so it's all documented is the point for the listener. But 2019, those objects started to, you could say, communicate, like telepathy. And basically there was a specific day where I was saying to myself, this consciousness event that happened to me when I was a kid, in my 20s, must have been tied to, this book I read. And that's what I was kind of saying that to myself. And something that I was now linking, a voice I was now linking to these objects I was witnessing said, no, it was our meeting with you when you were a young teenager. And I kind of had a rush of, concern, panic, but more, I guess you could say it was hitting something that I knew I'd have to unravel. And I didn't like the sound of that, and resisted it. And then I went and had a shower. And then in the shower was this memory. And I kind of realized, right, what is this memory? And it was of an owl I saw behind my teenage home growing up. And all of a sudden I realized, no, wait a minute, I didn't see an owl there. All of a sudden it dawned on me how odd this memory was. And I could kind of feel like this thing that it was talking to me was basically the one pointing the direction to look at that weird memory. When I went to the location of that memory, and I kind of brought it all up and I could really feel it was covering up another event that happened. It was the first time in my life I kind of felt a displacement, like a feeling underneath me, or feeling in my mind of what I thought happened versus something else that actually happened. And I would eventually label that as my second contact event. I was lured out of my home by a gray alien. And at that time when I was 17, and so a screen memory was left to replace it. Once I hit that, or once I kind of started to unravel that, it was the feeling of what it feels like to be in their presence started a domino effect. So it was kind of one contact event. And at first I thought, okay, I had one meeting with gray aliens. Oh my God, how awful or how crazy. Then it was like, oh, wait a minute, there was this other one. And then all of a sudden it started to, unravel. And there's a whole process about how that kind of happened. And, these were memories of my teenage years with my teenage perception and my teenage emotions. So my brain has no capacity to generate these things. And I know there were broken memories. Often I didn't know where they had occurred. And eventually when I did hypnotic regression, the regressions confirmed some events about the locations. And I have whole essays on my webpage that about memory and how fascinating it was that I actually learned. I would only have these broken memories on being on craft without knowing where it occurred. And then the hypnotic regression would be the thing that would point out specific moments when I was traveling, I was hiking, or I was hanging out with friends, and then I left to go home. And then all of a sudden there's a contact event. It was like that. Like they were kind of like hiding in my life and the background. And then they initiated the consciousness event. And then I started to see the orbs and objects while traveling. And I put it all together in a book. And that's what the book is. Yeah, The Rising and the Alien Plan to Build an Enlightened City on Earth.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible how memory and forgetfulness works. We talked about this last time, but it's endlessly fascinated me. I've I've often asked my guides, it's like, we live under the veil of forgetfulness, or the river of forgetfulness, or the river of oblivion, it's been called by some. And I'm like, how does that work? How can we be these enlightened souls and forget that? Like, how can we forget that? It's always fascinated me, the how, the mechanism, the mechanism of that. And I think that as humans, it's got to be on our DNA, but as humans, we're very susceptible to this. But other species throughout the cosmos have mastered mind, where they've got more control over accessing memory or not. I don't know, like the way that Michael Masters. Have you heard him speak?
I've heard of him. I'm familiar with him.
He talks about getting this download, and he remembers the experience of having this ETs give him this download, but they said to him, we're going to give you all this information, but we're going to hide it in your subconscious, and you're not going to remember any of it until later. And I mean, that's basically what happened to you, right? It's like you had all these experiences, but you weren't allowed to access it until later in your life. It's amazing how that happens.
Yeah, I've done 2 videos on memory. I have 2 essays on memory. And I know it sounds bonkers, but all of this is bonkers.
No, it's not bonkers. It's extraordinary.
It's
not
extraordinary.
Crazy.
It's extraordinary. Yeah, you got it. I feel pretty confident I know how they did it now. So the entities, at least the ones I was interacting with, can definitely stop time. And or freeze reality, I guess you could say. I don't even know. That mechanism I don't fully understand. But and then timelessness is an aspect of our own consciousness, and they can, so then you're not you anymore. So you're kind of another version of you when you're interacting with these entities, and the you is a frozen you, and then they are now interacting with you outside of time, and you're using a different part of your awareness, you could say. And I kind of link some of this back to oversoul content. The concept that the physical brain cannot conceive timelessness or outside time. It's not part of our sensory inputs. And but you do have a part of you that's originating outside time, and that's what kind of gets generated, or that's what kind of gets used. But it's taking the copy of you, so the ethereal mind, and it's basically, the ethereal mind is running around in timelessness with a part of you that's used to being in timelessness. And the more the more you access that through meditation, which most people don't, the more awareness you gain there. But the aliens kind of force it on contactees, at least in my case, I can say that. And so timelessness was a big part of this. And I know this because I've been practicing Advaita Vedanta for 25 years, and timelessness and the void and the absolute are all part of the meditation practices of Vedantic philosophy. And there was definitely a link, and it's part of why I think I have such good memories about my contact events and all those little tiny details. And then the end, what's fascinating is when I unraveled all that, the entities actually used that timelessness off of my mind. Like what's so fascinating here, and I don't even see anybody touching on this, is how impressive they are at managing human psychology. So just how they know how to hide that is just, using timelessness, but then they know how I'm going to perceive it, what screen memory to put there, and how that will egg me on, but not have me catch the memory of the contact. So it's quite brilliant the way it's all laid out. And they went back and forth between timelessness for some contact events and in time for some others. And then I was never able to, catch it. You can't catch it when it's kind of altering back and forth different states of your own consciousness. And that's basically it. I had no meditative or reflective capacity to access those aspects of myself. Never mind, yes, they also put a command in me at the time to not look at it. So that just all plays a part in it all. So there was like a multiplicity of things going on, and they were effectively able to bury the awareness. And it is very fascinating. I love all that stuff. Yeah.
Hi, g'day, Heidi. Heidi's here. Happy Mother's Day to you, darling one, and everybody else that's listening. I'm thinking as you're talking, Jeff, about Preston Dennett's. I've had him on the show many times. He's on the same network with Dolly on the Lightgate. And he and Dolly are conscious astral travelers, meaning that they remember all their out-of-body experiences at night, because we're all out there at night, and then we come in, we completely forget, like we're under this forgetfulness, right? And he was hanging out with his brothers and sisters, both dead and alive, like some embodied and some who had finished their physical incarnation in some realm on another dimension. But he was talking to his brothers and sisters, a couple of them, about knowing that they were out of body. And as you just said, they're in a different consciousness. They're in a consciousness of course I know I'm out of body. What, do you think I'm stupid or something? Like they're in a consciousness of knowing. And he said, will you remember when you wake up in the morning? They go, no, we won't. And I'm like, he says, why won't you remember? He says, oh, we don't know how to do that. We can't do that. So there is this, like, he can do it and Dolly can do it, but and many people can do it, and sometimes I can do it and most of the time I can't. But I often wonder why I can remember some things and not others. Like, why don't I remember every night? Yeah, it's really fascinating. But Preston said that he meditated and he worked on shifting his frequency in order to have these memories of his out-of-body experiences. And it's so fascinating to me. I had an experience in the shower of being out of body, looking up at a ship and then going inside the ship and seeing some greys and some marsupials during the times that the fires were killing a lot of marsupials here in Australia. And I asked my guides, because I was completely aware that I was standing in the shower. I never felt like I left my body. I said, what was happening? Was I remote viewing? And they said, no, you were connecting with an aspect of you that's always there. That's always in a different dimension. And I went, oh, that's so interesting. Yeah. Yeah. What do you want to say about it? So when you retrieved your memories, you said as a teenager, but as a kid, were you taken up to the ships in your physical body as a child?
As a child, yeah, it was, yeah. Most of it's physical, but it's like even in timelessness, my body was there. So it's in stasis. Like this is, I kind of analyzed all this stuff, tore it all apart. There's evidence for these things on my contact events alone. That my body was in some type of stasis, and they were able to do things with it. One of them is they were analyzing what's a good example of this one? There's a couple of them, but they were pumping my blood. And I was able to watch it on a screen. And I know my body was anyway, it answered because the effects that happened to me in the contact event. I had the memory of it. I had the memory of them putting it all in. I had the whole details all laid out. I knew it happened when I was camping with my friends, and I went privately off on my own early in the morning. And then they didn't like me smoking all that marijuana as a teenager. And I was in this kind of agreement with them, and they didn't like it. They didn't like that I was doing that, and they were concerned. So in timelessness, they take me, and then they're doing stuff to my body, and they're pumping my heart basically, and I'm aware and I'm affected by it. But and then they were able to watch the blood process and the blood flow in my brain, and I could see it on a screen. And I had that memory without understanding at all what they were doing, only to realize later, right, my body's in stasis. And then she literally, I watch her doing this. She's pumping my heart. And I didn't, having the memory without having an understanding about what was going on until you realize, okay, I'm in timelessness. That's why the memory feels that way. That's why it's consistent with these other timelessness contact events. And then they're able to do things with my body. And for me, that all adds to a grand picture about my contact. Certain contact events are outside time. So I'm physically there. I'm there, but everything's in a kind of a frozen state, and my body's in that state as well too. Yeah. And so I had some of those as a child as well. Yeah. So there are some kind of more astrally out of my body contact events, but very few. Most of them are either very physical or kind of frozen time kind of idea.
A fellow Canadian here. Hello from
Nice.
Canada, friends. And Shirley. Okay, let me get this right. So when you're in hypnosis, retrieving these memories, you're witnessing it like you're not in the body. But at the time it was happening, were you also witnessing it outside of your body, witnessing your body, or is that just
nothing was outside my body? Nothing was outside my body.
But your consciousness, were you like you saw your body and like I assume the body was asleep or in stasis?
I'm
No?
going through that.
Oh, so
I'm
you're so
literally like I'm on the chair. I'm literally like,
oh, okay.
ah,
So
and
mhm,
I can feel
mhm.
it. And the memory, there's something here about timelessness as it is and the way memory is retained.
Uh-huh.
And there's something going on here about uh, the way the aliens did what they did, the consciousness, holograms, the way they to do telepathy, it really gets retained. That's the problem. It's really wild. It gets retained in the memory, and it's very the way I frame this is all the contact events had flashbacks. Everything was with me being like, wait, what? I was interacting with this creature in front of these weird holograms, and I couldn't put it together. And then I could feel all in the same kind of event. There were several different things, maybe several rooms, or something happened, or it was talking to me. I couldn't quite figure it out. The regression just grounds you in it. So the
Mhm.
regression grounds you in beginning to end. Where did this start? Let's play it all through from beginning to end. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, right, after that moment that I have the flashback about, we did this and this thing's talking to me. Oh, wait a minute, it's saying this, and it's, oh wait, I can feel it. Oh my god, it's saying, don't do this, or we want to make sure you do this. And you're like, holy crap, it's talking to me. And then you're kind of like trying to, it's all being recorded in an audio recording, and then you go back later on and you're like, oh my god, right. And then all of a sudden you're feeling, the 16-year-old kind of go through that. And nothing was
Yeah.
out. I wasn't experiencing any of it outside my body. I was expressing what was embedded in me as
Okay.
memories, as body memory, as consciousness memory, physical memory. It was all kind of coming out, and a lot of it was retained in my body. It's really interesting. I've heard people say this about gray alien telepathy, that they can feel it very viscerally. That's
Mhm.
true. Like it's kind of, it impacts your body, and I could feel a lot of the
Absolutely.
telepathy in my, stored, if you will, in my physical tissue body. It's pretty fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, Bashar through Daryl Anker calls it telepathy.
Hmm. Oh, like
And I
kind of
think that's
empathy kind
good.
of idea.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
telepathy. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah, you
Empathy.
feel it with your whole body. You're connecting
Yeah.
energetically, and your body is an energetic structure. So yeah,
Yeah.
telepathy. When you were retrieving the memories, you were surrounded by greys. Were they the little ones? Were they the tall ones? Were they both?
So most of the time is with this lead gray. So I call her
Uh-huh.
the elder. So there's this
Uh-huh.
main character, this main entity that uh, pretty consistently interacted with me. There were these tall medical beings, who were taller than me, but not
Uh-huh.
excessively tall. I would say maybe 6 feet, or maybe a little bit taller, 6'4" or something.
Mhm.
There were a couple times these kind of more worker bee gray aliens, which were, yeah, they were like 3 foot tall. The main one I interacted with was about 4 foot tall. So yeah,
Mhm.
smaller than me. Had a very distinct look, had a weird cone on her head, and had a very distinct jaw and kind of jaw structure. And then these down angled eyes, are kind of more, yeah, down angled, very almond shaped and black. And yeah, she's the main gray alien I dealt with the majority of my contact. A couple times there's humanoids, like human looking aliens as well too. And then a mantid thing, or I don't call
Oh,
it a mantid, but a leader type creature that
like
was
an
the like,
insectoid. I was just going to ask you, did you see the mantis? The
so
mantids.
not
Yeah.
my guy did not look like an insectoid. He was not a
Okay.
bug. Yeah, he was not a bug, but he was I call it the controller species. It's the lead
So
species. The
if he
leader is what I called him. Yeah.
if he didn't look like a bug, what did he look like that would make you say a mantis thing?
An aardvark is what he looked like. Yeah, yeah, he had a snout. He had two big yellow eyes on the side of his head. The snout kind of looked like a cross between like an aardvark, a horse, and maybe a lizard. Yeah, and then he had the same arm structure as what people report with mantids. He had the kind of like,
Uh-huh.
the kind of claw-like arms that are kind of hang like this. He wore a white
Uh-huh.
gown. And then yeah, he was in charge of everything. So he was the kind of the main entity. And other people I've talked with about kind of mantid archetypes, it all fits. It's the same kind of archetype this guy had. He just looked different. I don't know. Like, I don't have the answers to these things. He looked like an aardvark is what he looked like. Yeah.
Wow, fascinating.
Yeah. It's
The
bonkers.
variety of form throughout the universe is just so fascinating, isn't it? It's just so fascinating. All the
Yeah.
different
there's something going on here about the way the shape-shifting nature of the phenomenon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I'm just kind of zeroing in on what I call the unrepeating patterns of the phenomenon, because something is up with the way there's this bizarre multiplicity that is astronomically not, something is not right about it, yet simultaneously there's something very archetypal going on where people are kind of experiencing very, very, very similar ideas, very, very similar labels, very similar telepathy, but the means behind that is always slightly different. And it's a really interesting game, the way it's communicating or interacting with humans. Yeah, the phenomenon is just very I find it all very fascinating. And there's a couple good researchers out there who've kind of, this is what they're focused on, that there's something up with nothing is repeating. You got all these different shapes and varieties. And it's very easy for us to say, oh, well, that's that species, and that's that one, and that's this one, and that's that one. But I don't know. I'm kind of not buying it. I actually think it's a lot of it's originating from a single source, and then it's shape-shifting or working with our perceptions as well too, and then it's kind of materializing bodies or maybe printing bodies. And though I do believe it's using bodies that are real, something is going on here about the sheer volume and multiplicity of the phenomenon and the way it interacts with humanity. It's just bizarre. It's just, and when you kind of look at it maybe as an overarching structure, maybe it's doing that on purpose to kind of keep itself ahead of us. So I don't know. There's a whole bunch of ideas you could have about that, but something is up with the way it's all very, very different for a lot of different people.
Yeah. We had Jaylene Tracy on the show last week, who is in contact with different forms of ET, galactic consciousness, but the mantid are very prominent in her connection. And she did a light language activation at the end of the show. And I was shown all this insect. If so much information came to me through this, because I've always wondered, so many people talk about the mantis, and just like you call it an aardvark, which is looking being, but so many people say there's like this insectoid mantid looking tall who's in charge of stuff. And they said to me, and Jaylene says it too, that they're like the architects of form. And I've often wondered why they would have like a bug body. Like, why a bug body to a human, a fleshy white human, or just any sort of human, a fleshy human? Why this bug body? And during the activation last week on the show, they showed me, like, if you look at insects, like a caterpillar can transform its body into a butterfly. They have in their structure this incredible transformational ability. Incredible. So you sort of mix that, like in the X-Men, there's this girl that can change into anything, like an octopus, an octopus can change. It's like if you mix that intelligence with a humanoid body and higher consciousness, like the sky's the limit, right? The limit.
It's much more like they're sitting there looking at a catalog of Earth creatures. They're like, oh, I love that one, and they're like, and they transform into it. They're like, hey, I'll be that one for this person. Yeah,
I think they created the catalog of the Earth creatures.
Oh, that I don't doubt either. I do believe that. Yeah, they're like, oh, I remember back in 4 million years ago when we made this thing. Yeah, it's like that. Yeah. Because I've seen the leader of the mantid species be a spider for a contactee as well too. Like it's like that. Yeah, there's something going on where they're doing that, and then you have to start asking why too, like the kind of larger picture, but what that's doing for the contactee and what that does for humanity. When we hear about all these different things, it kind of throws us for a loop a little bit, right? Because we're the one thing I'm recognizing is the one big difference between us and them is that humans are pattern recognition creatures, right? The entire existence, everything, the computer you're using and the love you have for your family and friends, and it's all pattern recognition, right? So then you have this bizarre element where the aliens are playing against our pattern recognition by being different looking creatures for different humans. So then we are stumped by that, and as an observer, right, we don't even know what to make of that type of behavior, and it keeps them one step ahead. And it's very fascinating what's going on here. Very interesting game.
It's very fascinating. And Jeff, what do you think of the latest drop from the government? And maybe it means nothing to you, but it is creating talk, in the collective consciousness. Like in Australia, we've got our legacy media, and classically they ridicule and laugh at this subject. But now I've seen all the legacy media channels report on this in a serious manner, and I'm like, oh wow, times have changed. What do you make of it?
It's got a bunch of different things to it. One of them is that is my favorite part. It creates legitimacy about the subject. Even, and this is the fact about humans. No one I know wants to delve into that, but they want to be told what's going on. They want to go about living their lives, and then, okay, aliens are real. Okay, I guess this is real. And they don't want to delve into it. But when you delve into it, what they've released, it's a bit bizarre. It's bizarre. Some of it is confusing. They give no context to things, so you can't really tell what you're looking at. And some of them are things that were already released at a prior point. And it's just it's for the legitimate people who are looking for real, true evidence to make game-changing dialogue, I guess. I don't think they found exactly what they were looking for, but yeah, it does a weird thing for humans where now people who didn't take it seriously are taking it seriously. So yeah, it had a weird kind of dual effect to it. I think that's good, but people should really be wondering why the government's dragging their feet on this stuff. That's the real that's the real thing.
The government's been dragging their feet on this stuff for 100 years. But
and they're still confusing people. They just want to be confusing. They're willingly confusing the public, and that's the part that I think that we should be zeroing in on. And there's a bunch of reasons why they could be doing that are self-vested interest for themselves, and hoping that we don't ask the right questions or something, right? So
right. Well, I mean, they are drip feeding it to the more mainstream mind that always thought that if you think about aliens are crazy, which is a paradigm shift that's completely changed over the last few years. Like even saying it doesn't hold any truth anymore. But they're drip feeding it to people. But what I found really interesting, Jeff, is I saw all these Christian pastors, because a lot of people say that if the reality of life in the cosmos interacting with Earth becomes known in the collective mainstream mind, then people are going to go crazy and religion is going to disappear. And everyone postulates about what will happen to religion, which has a huge grip on human society. So all these pastors, Christian pastors, have been getting together to have meetings about this drop. And they've been doing it. They've been doing it all year. Like, what are we going to say to our parishioners, whatever you call people who go to church, and how are we going to handle this? They're all freaking out about it.
Well, it's going to change a lot of perspectives, that's for certain. And this isn't just an issue of, are aliens real, and does Jesus now accept aliens? Like, this is a lot more than that. And this is it's good. I like it. And I think the bottom line is people are going to have to start figuring out how to personally experience God for themselves, or the unified field for themselves. I was saying this somewhere else. I don't think people listen all the time, but you got to, if we're going to change our own perception of the nature of reality, you need to be grounded in what ultimate reality actually is. And our religions didn't do a great job at it, I have to say. Like that's why people seek personal spirituality, and some of the faiths have a lot of the answers, but it's also confusing to people. And I'm a practicer of Vedic, and I think Vedic is like bang on with a lot of it. I think Buddhism does a really good job in certain sects of it. And and Jesus was real, and I think that guy's words are legitimate. But then you have the whole human interpretation of everything, and that's the real problems here. And that maybe didn't prepare us for the extreme dimensionality that's going to be upon us. And but when you open yourself up to that kind of more, God is real, God is all things, dimensional fields are real, you can more easily move into a space of the perplexing dimensionality that's outside of our frame of reference that they are going to bring upon us in awareness. So we're going to need a solid understanding really soon. So yeah, I think it's good to start for the religions to start figuring that stuff out, because boy, we're going to be in for a ride.
Well, I didn't listen to a lot of the pastors because I find it interesting listening to what Christian pastors have to say on this topic.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
did click on a couple of the videos, just curiosity. What are these guys saying? And yeah, some of them are worried that people are going to say Jesus was an alien and that the ETs created Earth and not God, as if
Right.
you know, this idea, this paradigm that God is an entity, a dude outside yourself, a supreme being that created the heavens and the earth, and that we're separate to them. I mean, that's pretty much in most religions. I'm not sure about Buddhism.
Yeah.
But
Vedic
separate,
for Vedic, you are God. Yeah. Vedic's the
right?
only one I know that talks like that. Yeah. Vedic.
Okay.
Yeah. Everything else is it's something else, or it's not there at all. Yeah. You got it 100%.
Yeah, well, I love having these conversations with you, because we were talking about this before we went live on the show today. There's a lot of, I don't know, infighting in the UAP, UFO community, ET, alien community. People saying, this is right, you're wrong, I'm right. You know, there's a lot of fighting about it. And I asked my guides about being on this network, which attracts a lot of people that are into this topic. And I said, I don't know if this is my network. And they said, this is exactly your network, Karen, because this topic really needs that injection of spiritual understanding or enlightenment, you know, and stop arguing with each other and see the multiplicity and the multidimensional reality of the universe, and all things are possible and you create your own reality. It's like there's no black and white, I'm right, you're wrong, which humans love to do. And you really talk about that, like you really studied the Vedas. And do you want to speak more on that, Jeff?
Sorry, which part? The Vedas? Is that what you want me to talk
about injecting spirituality? They can all
into
be
this
right.
field.
Shirley says, and Mish, g'day, Mish. Happy Mother's Day to you, darling one. What's she saying here? My guess is the government have let the aliens eat some of us. Is that a joke? Is that a joke?
I believe some people think that. Yeah, they think missing 411 is the aliens, or but no, injecting, you mean spirituality into this field? Is that what you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting game here is that so I can see this happening right now. You have a very intellect has governed our perspective of our society for hundreds of years, right? The concepts of science kind of broke out in 1600s with the Age of Enlightenment, right? And the whole process was to tear apart reality to understand it. And that definitely, I think, evolved us or helped us in some frame of reference. But the reality is that separates us from the holistic perspective, and consciousness is all inclusive of all things.
Right.
And so you've got this kind of problem, and that the two actually don't go together. You can't intellectualize consciousness. And I see a lot of people trying to do it. They're trying to intellectualize consciousness. And I think that you're going to have a break at some point, but people should really kind of come back to Carl Jung about this, because the meaning making system is actually a part of the psyche, and it's a part of ourselves in the source of what consciousness is. And some people who never got intellectual about reality might know more about reality, even though they may be interpreting it as through a mythology, and they might be able to master it better, right? And that's what the gurus are, right? Like, gurus didn't spend they're not PhDs, and they don't have 5 PhDs. They have a different type of PhD, and then that makes them masters of existence, right? The guru I've witnessed has been able to bend reality, and that's the real power right there. So, and he can't intellectualize that. And I know so many people who want the formula, and then they want to get it overnight, and then they want to practice it, and now have a good YouTube channel about it all. And it's just you can't do it. It doesn't work like this. And sometimes you need decades into it to kind of condition the mind. All of this is an impediment to our nature of how we structure our world right now, which is intellect. And so we're gonna have like a big confluence or a big problem very soon here. But so that's how everyone's approaching the UFO field. I see is they want the medical guy or the research guy or the they want these, scientists to tell us, okay, what's really going on here. And they're not going to be able to. That's the problem. At the end of the day, someone is eventually going to have to say, God is real. God is real. There's actually an awareness here, and it's about building a relationship with that. And then that field generation that will happen inside of you is how you're going to be able to better understand this bizarre phenomenon, which is working with the meaning-making system of humans. It's been doing it for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of years. It's been working with the meaning-making system. And there's so many people who want to frame that as nefarious. But the person, everyone is using your meaning making system. Someone who's online saying that's evil and nefarious will go on and go watch a TV show. That's you making meaning. You're doing the exact same thing. You got a whole little structure in your head about archetypes and idols you have. That's you making meaning, right? You're sitting there making meaning out of that, and then you have to say, oh, this person does that, I'm going to do that. And then you get a whole you have an inspiration about that meaning making system, and you get online and you start talking about it. Well, that's what God was for people who followed the church in the 1400s and 1500s and 1600s. And this is what spirituality does. It's a recognition of that meaning making system. And then you get closer by loving that God, or by recognize or acknowledging it's a part of your awareness, or at least part of your identity, or maybe you can reach out to it. Those are all part of the meaning making system we're going to have to eventually embrace. And that's the level that this stuff is on. It's unequivocally demonstrating that. So, you could say Bledsoe is an example of that. I've personally experienced it myself too. But this isn't deception. This is because it's living there. So then it's coming to us as the angel, or as the Mother Mary, or, and I feel when it's doing that, it's trying to evolve us. It's actually trying to get us out of this structured system that the brain does naturally, and trying to pull us out and evolve us. And so the spirituality and the meaning making system, I think, is the fundamental core of what this is all about. And I maybe approach that intellectually to talk like that, but I'm articulating it. That's what I'm saying. I'm articulating it. That's all I'm trying to do here. But it's a game of releasing the intellect to embrace the kind of more creative mythology that's within us. And that's how you find that source and get close to it, however that makes meaning for you. But that's what I think is at the core of the UFO phenomenon. There's no other way to, we have aliens, what's it? I can't remember her name. Betty Andreasson, right? The aliens were literally saying humans need to love more. And we have multiple cases like this. Humans need to love more. People need to know that God is love, and love is God. And this is the level that we're talking about here. And people think it's nefarious, but it's because that is a real experience that people in spirituality have. And it's because it's working with the meaning making system of the consciousness.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. We intellectualize love. It's hard to intellectualize love. Like, you can talk about love all day, but love only exists when you feel it, right?
It's exactly. You can't force it. You can't. Yeah, it's exactly. Love is not something with which you can structure. You cannot structure love. And humans have been trying to do that for a long time, but it doesn't work.
Yeah, many years ago, when I was in my 30s, Greg Braden came out to Australia, and I was a part of a group that were helping him put on some talks. And his talks were fascinating. He was talking ancient history and science, and he's a fascinating dude. You know Greg Braden?
I don't know him, no.
You don't know him?
No,
anyway, and a researcher and a teacher. Anyway, he's fascinating. And as I was watching this talk, everything he was talking about was to prove the existence of love. And I'm thinking, why do we need all this information to prove the existence of love? Why don't we just love someone and feel it?
Right.
I mean, it could be so simple. Like, it could be so simple. Like, why do we have to have this ancient alien and these Dead Sea Scrolls and all this information to say, oh, it all comes back down to love?
Yeah.
And it's like, everything we want because in the having of it, we think we'll feel good, right? And what feels better than love?
Yeah. Yeah.
What
grows us, like what opens us, what makes our personalities thrive, what makes our brains thrive. Biology of Belief is a good, Bruce Lipton did his job creating the book Biology of Belief. Love changes your DNA. Love is what strengthens your DNA. Love is what makes your body healthy, body run better, your brain grow faster, your body grows faster. It's all love. Yeah, love is the energy.
And Jaylene was saying last week that, we talk about the telomeres being a part of the aging process, that the more gratitude and love you have, it strengthens and replenishes your telomeres, which means that you get healthier, you live longer, you look younger. Love is the answer. We had David Wilcock on the show the other day after he's left his body, and he spoke about so many things over his lifetime. He's a fascinating guy. And his message was, this love message is the most important message. Like, from spirit, that's what he was saying. He was jumping up and down and saying, get this message, this message of love. And when we are in this UFO, UAP community, everyone's arguing about what's right and wrong. And sometimes you just got to let go of somebody saying something that you don't agree with and love them anyway. Like, feel that connection to them anyway, regardless of their opinion or point of view.
The core, then, if that is what this is all about, is those mental structures inside of us that we need to gain, right? Mental ideas of compassion, forgiveness, right? Kindness, right? Trying to find ways to heal ourselves so we can be that person, be that loving individual. And that's the work we all have to do. But that's what I think the great religions or the great spiritualities focus on is how to master yourself.
And Mish says here, love gives you strength. Absolutely. And g'day, Leah. Happy Mother's Day to you too, darling one. Speaking about, because we're doing this on American or Canadian Mother's Day. As I say, down here we had it yesterday because we're in your future. I'm living in your future, Jeff.
Nice.
Because we're talking about the hybrid, we're going to get into the hybrid program. So the ETs, the Greys specifically, they don't gestate in a womb, right? They work with babies in, like, how does that work? Do you want to explain how that works? Like, how do they grow? How they grow bodies? How do they grow hybrid bodies and ET bodies? And
I think there's a variety of things going on here. I think that I think the aliens, like, we want to structure all this stuff so easily, right? I was kind of thinking of the analogy of the car, right? Like, because if a species was looking at us and they would see us, and then some alien goes back to their home world and says, no, I saw a bike. I swear I saw them have a bike. Like, no, they have cars. They don't need bikes.
Right.
No, but humans bike anyway, right? We still bike even though we have cars. We have all this options. We have scooters, bikes. Even though we have cars, people are still buying scooters. They're still buying bikes. They're buying all this stuff. I think you got things like this going on. I think when you have all this ability, you have a lot of multiplicity, you have a lot of options. They have very specific things they're trying to achieve. So I was shown the aliens definitely, from birth, if you will, from their birth in their tubes, they grow them, from these kind of liquid tubes is how they grow them. Now, that's what they showed me about themselves. They also showed me ready to go hybrids that were like in tubes that had no souls in them yet, that were ready to go. So there's this idea that I'm kind of understanding, I fully believe, is that they can print bodies. So they can literally print them. And that makes a lot of sense for a lot of different, contact, or as I've talked about previously on this episode here of the show, that they can change forms. And again, that makes a lot of sense if they're able to print bodies. Then there is that's what seems to be the hybrids program is having that gestation inside of a female's womb. Do I have information about that? Not fully. I don't from the male end. I was used for that, but it required insemination. So for me to be involved in insemination, I didn't see it from the women's side, but I think there's enough. I've interacted with enough female experiencers who've been a part of that hybrid program, and they definitely use human wombs, and they do that for a period. What happens to that? I actually don't have the information about. If they're in there for a couple weeks or months, I think a couple weeks, they'll take that fetus out afterwards. Where that goes or how that's handled, I don't actually have any of that information nor understand that. But they are definitely hybridizing. That is. I mean, there's just enough evidence for it. And that's what my story is all about as well too, is the hybridization. Yeah.
So as we understand mothering, we see mothering coming from a mother who, you know, gives birth to us, and we put it on a human form. If
Yeah.
they're hybridizing, even if your gestation is, you know, 2-3 weeks, couple of months in a womb, and then you're taking and putting in a sort of a tube or a incubator or whatever it is that they use, what's the story with mothering and aliens, and like, how does all that work?
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, from my personal experience, all of it, by the way, is documented in my book. So, right, I do have a variety of experiences here, and I do see a couple things. But I think the first and foremost thing that people need to wrap their head around is that physical aspect might be less there. So they may be more of an energetic entity species. So again, if we're talking about printing bodies, then the energy of your awareness is easily able to move between bodies. And we have enough, stories on craft that's easily what they do. And I've witnessed it myself, and the energy of the entity going in from one body to another. So
like the movie Avatar.
I would say more spirit. Yeah, just the consciousness awareness removed from one body and placed into another. I think Avatar, you're talking like mentally linked up to this thing, right?
No, the movie Avatar, where they take the
Yeah.
consciousness out of the human and put it in a ET avatar body, like.
Oh, okay. Maybe I forgot. It was actual transference that happened, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, right. I forgot that. Yeah,
I mean,
I know you're right. Okay, sure. It's like
they're
that,
doing
yeah.
it in the movie. They're doing it with some machine, but I often wonder
That's right.
how they're doing it, how the ETs are doing it. Do they have a machine like in the movie, or is it just pure consciousness? Like, how are they transferring consciousness from one body to another?
I'm pretty certain they can just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can just release that essence and then place it into another body, and then they can control that body. Yeah. I mean, that's what happened to my contact event. It was just done, removed, and put into another body. So yeah, the motherly part here. So what that means, and what I witnessed or experienced, was that motherly vibration, I guess you could say, is very real. So it's like archetypal within the universe, maybe, or something, right?
Right.
The elder
It's
herself.
source.
Yeah, the elder herself. I felt her be motherly to these things in these tubes, these little tiny gray aliens, and she felt motherly about them. Now, I didn't feel her be their mother, but I felt her feel motherly, like a mother in society would to a bunch of children, part of our community, right? You see these children and you feel like motherly towards them, and you have a motherly love. The elder, the gray alien, felt that way about her tiny little babies that were in her craft. Again, when I say hers, I don't think they were hers physically, but the community's gray aliens. And so there was a motherly thing going on here. And it's really bizarre because we associate motherly with comfort and, suckling and care and, caressing. Comfort. And I don't really know that that's actually a part of that, but they still had it in its very energetic compassion, this energetic form. So, it's very interesting. And so, I think you start going into this world of and then telepathy, the kind of, the feeling. I think feeling is the large portion of what this is about. And on our spirit level, without the human ego, we still have the capacity for these type of archetypes or these type of expressions. And clearly they do for me. So yeah, she had motherly love. And then I also saw the hybrid babies that I helped make, like in 2008, I saw them. And again, there was this kind of idea that there was a care and love for these little guys. And I asked who the father was. She said me. And I said, no, who takes care of them? And she said, we all do. Like in our society, we all take care of our young. And I was like, oh, interesting. So yeah, there is an idea here of care and love, and it just might be a bit more detached from the physical form, but still as an energetic essence, they still very much project that kind of motherly love. Yeah.
I think that I just want to say hi to a couple of. Hey, Diane, thanks for jumping on, and Mish and a few people. Mish says he was told that the soul doesn't contact the body until birth. That's actually not 100% through the soul as fluid, and from that higher self perspective, as we've been talking about, you have complete control of flowing through a body, flowing through like you can flow into the fetus and be in the womb and have that experience, or not. Come in after the baby's born. You can come in a couple of months after the baby's born. Like it's fluid. There's not like only this happens. That's what we love to do as humans. Right. And Shirley says, is this like walk-ins? And the walk-in phenomena is definitely a part of what we're talking about. The consciousness of the body being able to enter different vessels, be it a human vessel or an ET vessel. And I think that as we're talking about, Shirley says that she loves, we're talking about Mother on Mother's Day. This concept as humans, we're so rooted in compartmentalization and separateness that we see mother love coming from only one person on the planet, and that's our mother, right? And then if our mother doesn't give us this love that we expect, then we're all in trauma. But I think that the most of the universe understands that unconditional mother love is source. So it doesn't need to come from your physical embodied mother. It's you. It's within you. And so, and many of the ETs, even though they look like insectoids or grey aliens, many people have said there's this love emanating from them. Not just for their little hybrid babies in test tubes, but for everybody.
Universal like source consciousness. 100%. This is the perplexing part for the nuts and bolts people. And again, that goes back to, that makes a lot more sense for people who are meaning making with spirituality.
Meaning like, making, I love that.
These guys are linked to source and consciousness, and it's almost no problem. You're like, oh, I get it. But for those nuts and bolts people, they'll struggle with that, right? It's a real
because we're so rooted in human paradigms and conditioning and understanding that mothering love comes from a female and she's your mother, and mothering love, because I often say on Mother's Day, celebrations to all the mothering energies, be it female or male, because there's so many men that are so mothering, they mother, they nurture their friends, and they nurture their family, and they nurture their gardens, and they nurture their pets, and mothering energy is a universal energy. I'm
pretty certain too they have a
sending love to you all, sending love to you too. Shirley says I need to do a station ID break. We're going to come back and talk about the enlightened cities on Earth, because I keep I forgot to talk about it last time, and I want to talk about it this time. Where's my intro? Here we go. This is it.
You're listening to ATP Media, Awakening and
Oh, that didn't happen. What happened?
You're listening to ATP Media, Awakening and Expanding Consciousness with Karen Swain on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 FM and 105.3 FM. Syndicated radio hitting about 120 countries and streaming on 8 platforms.
And our guest today is Jeff Selver. He's back on the show. We're talking about the ET, the grey ET agenda on Earth. Jeff has written a book about it called The Rising. And we talked about this at length last show, and we're getting into it again too. I think in order to meet our cosmic neighbours, that rising, it's really about the rising in consciousness, isn't it? Is that what the rising is all about? We have to raise our consciousness in order to meet them.
It's actually the experiment, or the thing they did with me was the rising. They actually called it your time to rise. And I think it's a symbolic rising we will all have to do. I feel pretty confident in that too.
Because they hold such a different consciousness, and I think maybe the hybrid program, or you could say this better, is allowing the body to hold a higher frequency or a different frequency in order to retain more of that source energy perspective of connection and unconditional love. Maybe that's part of the hybrid program too, because as I said, I've often been fascinated in how we can live under the veil of forgetfulness and come from this immense energy of unconditional love, and then forget that. Like, what's the structure of that? And I think that it's within our physical and energetic DNA. And as that shifts, like as we play with different bodies and different DNA structures and chromosomes and hormone structures, the body itself can hold a different consciousness, right?
I mean, just on that, right? Like, you have to it's pretty fascinating, but all of nature evolves from stress, right? All of it, like all the trees and all the animals, everything evolves from the resistance to it. And that kind of just gets played out in the human world as well too. We have to get better. We were talking about forgiveness and compassion. Well, that's the resistance, right? You have someone nagging you, and then you want to figure out how to love in that, and okay, you got to figure that out, and that's the resistance. And then you evolved by figuring that out. So yeah, I think that's the kind of the macro scale of things going on here. And yeah, well, as far as everything that they shared with me, that's the purpose of the hybrids, is to, yeah. I mean, I think there's a variety of ways of framing it. I think there's a variety of things that are going to happen. I think that, in simple terms, I've heard people say that we're going to be better at telepathy. What they showed me was that they were, removing or, altering the part of our brain that is the ego. What would be called they called it, or they framed it as, the grabbing function. So we have this need to make things ours, mine, 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 and then that collective is eroded, and I think it actually is part of genetically why we created the scientific world, or that, as I mentioned earlier, the Age of Enlightenment. We got really excited to start breaking everything apart and studying it all, and that was maybe a part of our brain that did that. And yet, when it comes to really important moments like now, where maybe there's a problem going on, maybe on a grander, global scale, we don't have the capacity or have the brain structure to find a way to get around these things, because we lacked some real basic things that, spirituality had, or there was a part of our personality, but wasn't 100% a natural part of our personality, which was collectivism. And so we kind of always struggled with that collectivism thing going on. And here we are. And maybe that collectivism is also holistic perspectives. And yeah, now we're kind of at a crunch time, and we could really be using some of it. Yeah. And so things like that are part of it. But I also 100% believe an extreme form of dimensionality is going to be coming upon humanity, and these hybrids will be able to handle that better.
Yeah, that collectivism, absolutely. For the most part, humans, all decisions are made based on personal desire. I mean, even corporations, it's like, what's in it for me? How can I get what I want? How much more money I can make, regardless of the effect it has on the collective, right? So these pollutive practices of corporations, this is going to make me, shitloads of money, but it's going to pollute the earth. Doesn't matter, because I'm getting what I want. Doesn't matter about the earth or people getting sick, but that's the consciousness that humans have indulged in. It's like, how can I get what I want? And the ETs it's not about the personal I, it's about the desire of the whole. Like, how does this decision affect the collective? That collectivism. That's what, exactly. So let's get to these cities. I had, was it Jennifer Jukowski, or was it Tanis? I can't remember who said it. A couple of galactic gals on the show this year, talking about the hybrid program too. And I asked her this question about the hybrids. And they said, well, in order for them to come to this planet and meet humans, or even live here and be with us, they have to have a more similar physical structure and energetic physical structure to be here on this planet and to interact with our physical structure. And I was like, oh, I never thought about that. Of course they do, because their biome is so different, their physical energetic structure is so different. It clashes with us, not just consciously, but physically. So the hybrid program allows them to interact with us, because we're all talking about when are they going to land, when are they going to shake our hands and stuff like that. But there's a process involved. It's not, there's a process involved.
It's not, people are misled that it's going to be, we're going to start shaking hands with them and they'll be now walking down our street and stuff. That's not what's going to happen here. They're misled by that. And it's, I mean, that is that's pretty good frame of reference from my understanding of it. It's, the entities are highly paranormal, and I don't mean that to frame it as ghosts, but they are definitely in that realm, and they appear to be able, with that thinness, they're able to, be in other dimensions like the afterlife and that type of stuff, and then be able to maybe traverse time and other spaces. So that's all a part of it. And then they're saying, okay, we're going to put ourselves here now. We're have this plan to do that. And and then they need bodies for it, but simultaneously they need bodies to match their, you could say, their frequency or their realm or their perspective that allows them to interact with, their world
Us.
and their tech and
Yeah.
that bridge. So
And
they're
us.
making that
The
bridge
bridge.
between both. Yeah, a bridge between both.
Right.
So their realm of their tech and their vibration and their stuff can be here on ours, which is our vibration, our frequency, our realm, and it's two things coming together. It's like a bridge. And I, from the entities I know, they love it. They love our world. They're like, oh, so fascinating, and they love the way our emotions frame our reality and kind of from what I know, from what's been shared with me, our reality from their perspective, our emotions frame or fragment our reality. So the fact that we can love a sunset and or have cuddle with a partner and that kind of stuff is all very like, whoa. They they love those details, and then they want that for their world as well too, and they're trying to mix those two things all together. Was there an initial question about the cities? Is that what?
The city. What's the story with the what do they want to do with it? They want to. You said last time on the show, they want to create enlightened cities on Earth, but you said enlightenment was definitely your word that you used.
Oh, that's good point. Yeah,
a plan to build enlightened cities on Earth, but they want to build cities on Earth that they can dwell in. Like, what's their plan? And
okay.
When are they going to do that?
So what I'm shown is, so this is where I feel like the information I have is matching a lot of different things. And so I still believe it, that a cataclysm is going to happen. So an actual world event, some type of something.
You're not alone in that talk. You're not alone in that. The many.
Yeah, not alone. Yeah, exactly. And I'm aware of that. Yeah, and it's the hard part of all this, right? You don't want to. I have no desire, especially for me as the type of person I am. I don't want to freak people out, and yet it's a part of this story, and there might be some things about the human mind that's causing problems for them coming here, and there's a whole bunch of stuff about behind why that's happening, and never mind the larger planetary shift that's happening that might be just a natural side effect of that creates some kind of cataclysm. Regardless, it's after that. So now what they showed me was a planet, or it was North America is what they showed me, and in the center of North America was like a giant city. And now was that city containing the entire population, or was it containing just hybrids? I don't know that fully. There were two cities. There was one in central North America, and then there was one in Southern California. And then at a later time, she said there'll be a city, and I was shown that the hybrids that I had seen throughout my contact events were now grown up, and they were living in the city, and they were showing that to me, and they're saying, "Tell your world we're coming, and there'll be a new city." So that's all through like kind of projections she did in my mind through her eyes. And that's the kind of gist of it. So when it comes to the enlightened, title of it, I'm aware that, I think if you want to call this vibrations and higher vibrations and lower vibrations, sure, you could maybe frame it that way. We're a denser vibration, and we're denser now. And they are originating from a higher vibration. So then they do need to kind of like, there is a possibility here of something totally, extraordinary. Again, we use that word instead of bonkers. Extraordinary, which is segregation. So they may have to segregate themselves from us or depending certain humans. And there might be an idea that certain humans could, with certain DNA, like their DNA, could more easily transgress into something that they are more like. And there might be those type of like sub balances going on here in the planet out of nowhere from their arrival, that some vibrate too high for us and we can't even interact with them. Some are kind of more medium, that some humans can interact with. Some are a bit lower that some other humans can interact with. And then there might be whole humans that can't because they don't want to, like they are, people don't want to evolve. And that's the human thing too, right? Humans don't want to. Some humans are not wanting to evolve. So it's like kind of balancing all that stuff out. And I think the city is designed as a way of starting this process of making that kind of long-term generational evolutionary start steps take place on the planet that evolves us over time into a collective species that's all on the same page, that's able to, traverse the dimensional cosmos, all, as a collective in some kind of fashion. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
fascinating. Yeah.
So it's not going to happen in our lifetime, right, Jeff? It's a
Oh, I'm
ways off.
certain it's coming soon. Yeah, I think that this whole movement is I mean, I don't focus too much on I focus on other contactees, and then I'll focus on the research, and then I focus on these government guys, because I think that I'm pretty convinced aliens at some point communicated with the government. And I
Oh,
really
yeah.
stick to John Romera's 20,
Oh, yeah.
this explains what they're doing right now, even the 10-year soft disclosure program from 2017 to 2027. I mean, listen, we're right at 2026, and a big push just happened 2 days ago or 3 days ago. So this is, I mean, the evidence is in for me that there was a 10-year push soft disclosure program. And he said, John Ramirez, because when they show up, the human population needs to know about this. So yeah, there is a real thing going on here that I feel is going to happen. And now, how does that transgress to an actual city? Could that be something for 10, 20, 30 years? Yeah, maybe.
Well,
maybe the reality of those types of things are long term.
The city is just looking at it. I don't see that happening. Well, not in my lifetime anyway, but I'm getting on in years. But
well, this is what I mean by people should be paying attention to why we're not being told everything. Because here's the picture, right? You have a species who already knew about a cataclysm, knew that this was going to happen a long time ago, decades, let's say, and assumed the human leadership would tell the population. and then they don't, right? Because
they don't.
Because they can't save everybody. So they decide to save themselves, right? So then you have this weird game going on where the aliens are pressuring them, because that's actually some of the information we got. We got that from the that space guy. Sorry, they're all space guys. The Israeli guy who said, the aliens didn't want us to reveal, to make us panic right away, right? There was an Israeli space defense minister who went public and said that the government was basically hinting that the aliens were involved in that disclosure process. And that's what I think this 10-year soft disclosure program looks like. It's like a pressure on their behalf. And that explains why the aliens are talking the way they are in my contact event, which is the planet was always at stake. This is always about, the planet being at stake here, the kind of destruction going on here, the kind of large scale stuff that the humans are damaging things, and they don't want it. And so, because I think the planet gets used by multiple species throughout the hundreds of thousands of years. So I think that there's a larger thing going on here. And then they're saying, tell your population this change is coming. And it looks to me like that they're going to tell you right at the last minute. And then they're going to rush into their little bunkers or whatever. And then something happens. Yeah. A cataclysm. And upon that is them just taking over or taking control. And then that's the whole other side to this, is that this was always about God, love, enlightenment, and all these things, and that are just too hard for humans, and maybe too hard for the government, or too hard for the military to digest or to understand these things. And that is the core of this stuff, is that they're highly benevolent, sometimes maybe even too much for humans, that there was a threat that if they even tried to put themselves here, humans would harm them. So there might be a safety thing on behalf of the aliens too. So yeah, this event occurs, and then the idea is that's when they start putting a city here. And yeah, I mean, I feel like we're in the end game now. So I do believe something will happen. Does it all manifest quickly? I don't know that. Yeah, and maybe this is something that takes generations. Sure, maybe. I don't know those details either.
Yeah. This is an interesting question from Pamela. I think we've just sort of discussed this, that don't graze sweater fluid we can't touch. That's an interesting. What do you want to say about that, Jeff?
Yeah, from what I know, that's real too, as well too. Yeah, that there's this information originally came from the EBO geneticist who was on Reddit, and I did an actual video on my YouTube channel where I compared all my personal experience with my gray aliens to that EBO geneticist's information, and yeah, a lot of it was bang on for me. And actually, at one point, the elder told me that she is that they are like our invertebrates. And I was like, that's a weird thing to say, but worms excrete through their skin, and worms are invertebrates. So it's just stuff like that. You're like, oh, that's a weird behavior. And yeah, when you excrete through your skin, there's certain invertebrates in our society or in our world do that. So stuff like
I
that.
think
Yeah.
I think it comes down to different bacteria and microbiome that they hold, that Earth holds, that is incompatible, different immune systems.
Oh yeah, my alien told me in a UAP form here, like flying around, and I was like, land, and come out and play. And literally telepathy from the craft. Your realm will damage my body.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it.
And I've been shown that the little grey androids, they use them because those little sort of fleshy robots are not damaged by different environments, so
That's
that
right.
they can land on different planets and they won't be damaged. But
That's right.
But we were talking with Jaylene last week about, you know, consciousness and how you can actually reprogram your microbiome. We spoke about that on the show a few times.
Interesting. I agree with that too. And astral forms. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can like we were talking about, even on Earth, if us fleshy white people go to like India or Asia and we get sick because our immune system just can't cope with the different bacteria and the amount of bacteria and stuff like that. But you can program it before you go to that. You can consciously program your microbiome to shift to meet a different environment. Like we could do that as humans. Surely the ETs can do that. And what they're saying is, I'm talking, they said some and some not. Some can and some not.
I think it's so one of the things I experience with them is astral projection and kind of like a bilocation. So this idea that that they can, you know, materialize a body, into our realm. Yeah. But I think that maybe the full suit does a lot of things. So I think that's kind of more, it's not because the gray alien I'm interacting with, I don't think she's just a physical creature. I'm pretty certain she's got a brain that's kind of wired up as like a computer. And it's this kind of like biological computer stuff going on. And I think it's much more complex, than just being a body that can just do these things. But yeah, for some reason, our gravity or something about our realm will affect her physical form. I've seen her. She's been in my realm, but she comes as a paranormal entity. So she's thin, right? She's like a thinner form. But but you mentioned that that's my personal experience. That the short ones actually have been in my realm. I've been here, and I can interact with those guys. Yeah, the tiny ones. It's very interesting. Yeah,
the little androids.
Yeah, the tiny ones. Yeah, 3 foot tall. Yeah.
You know, I've been doing this show for a long time, Jeff, and I've had many people on the show talk about being contacted, like they're in their 60s and 70s now, being contacted as children, so 50 odd years ago, and by either angels or ETs, and being shown probable futures of Earth, right? And different scenarios, different timelines. Right. And the message was always, if you kids don't get your act together and clean up Mother Earth, we're going to step in and take over, right? Yeah. So some people say, oh, you know, we're more enlightened now and the cataclysm's not going to happen. And then some people say, we didn't heed the warning and the cataclysm will happen. So there's two different ideas, but people like Susie Hansen, I think she was shown that as a kid on the ships, and Sherry Wilde. Have you heard of Sherry Wilde? And Lorna Byrne, who was like, these women are all in their 60s and 70s now, and Lorna Byrne, the angels showed different probable realities. And I think it was Lorna, I'm not sure, I think it was Lorna, or it might have been Susie, who said, what am I going to do? I'm just a kid. But, you know, showing it to many different people, like this is a probable reality of your Earth, and you need to tell humanity to nurture, to steward the Earth better and change your consciousness. And so where do you think we're at globally, conscious-wise, and stewarding the Earth? Do you think we need the cataclysm? Do you think it's a definite, or do you think there's still possibility of people waking up to enlightenment and loving each other and loving the Earth? And
I mean, it's a great vision, but I'm pretty certain that it's not good. I'm pretty certain it's not good.
Pretty certain it's not good. Well, that's interesting. I've been talking about this with my friends, and if there was some horrendous cataclysm that wiped out most of the planet. I'd be just happy to just leave my body and come back at a future date when things weren't so. I don't really want to live through the whole.
I think they're taking people. I think they're taking people. Yeah, I think there's a whole thing. I mean,
But
the
I'm not
specifics I
attached
don't know, right?
I'm not attached to this body. Like there's many other bodies I can flow through, right? Why I don't
Yeah,
have to be attached to this body.
I don't know if that's part of the game here too. Is that there's a whole bunch of like, hey, want a new body? Yeah,
Yeah.
like, and maybe that body will work better in their realm. So then you can
Yeah.
do more. You can drive their crafts or something. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, this is insane, right? I don't. this is a really hard conversation to have, and simultaneously, I'm pretty certain it's kind of our future. But yeah, how do you prep humanity for this type of stuff, right? How do you warm them up for it? And
This is how you prep
yeah.
humanity. What time is it? We've got about 10 minutes to go. You remind them that death doesn't exist.
Well,
we see
there's
the
that.
we
Yeah,
see the death
yeah,
of the physical form as the end of us.
that's
And
true.
it's just a container we're utilizing to have this
Yeah,
experience in this moment
yeah,
of now. But we've got many other containers we can utilize. We can be a
yeah,
gray, we can be a man, a woman, a cat, a dog, a
yeah.
mountain, a planet.
And
We
I'm
can
pretty
flow through everything.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty convinced spirits can spirits can be on craft. Like, yeah, you like something
Right.
happens and you're still up on craft anyway.
Yeah.
This is the space I'm in about. Like, what's like I actually still don't know fully. I feel like they gave me this end vision, and then there's this what's happening now, and then there's this middle ground that I'm like not really clear what's happening in between. And it could be anything from taking spirits from a cataclysm, or they literally are taking people, or it's some mixture of the two, or I
Yeah.
don't even really know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
totally out of our hands.
Susie Hansen talks about that as a child being up on the ships, being introduced to an energy orb.
That's right.
That
Yeah,
was the consciousness or the soul or whatever
yeah,
word you can use to understand that of
yeah,
her when she would grow up and have a son.
yeah. That's right.
And the
Yeah,
grey ET said to her, get to know this being, but it was just like an orb floating. And this little
yeah,
kid is sort of chasing this energy orb around a room and playing with it as if it was embodied in some body, but it wasn't embodied. It was just an energy orb that would become her son when she
yeah,
grew up and had children, which
yeah,
is that part of Susie's story really fascinated me, that the ETs, traverse realms where they can be in the spirit realm and physical simultaneously.
yeah, yeah.
And we, for the most part, say we have to die to contact that other side. But we
That's
don't,
right.
right? We
Yeah,
don't.
we don't. Yeah, and that's the
Right.
whole thing here. I think, and I'm convinced physical bodies. That's why I kind of talk about timelessness and stuff. Like, I'm pretty convinced their realms, when they take a body, a human, they can that human might be put into a thinner dimension. So
Yeah.
so the craft itself is containing a thinner dimension. So
Right.
you're on the craft as a physical body, and it's kind of a bridge where you could have a spirit. I saw my oversoul. So they showed me the birth. They showed me the birth of Jess Selver, the design of me, like as before I was born, and my own oversoul was on craft. So
Cool.
the oversoul was in a room and it was working with the gray aliens to get this life to be planned. They are. It's some weird mixture, these two worlds of.
Yeah.
And when you study the afterlife content, Dr. Michael Newton and stuff like that, you learn that there's technology people report in
Mm.
between life regressions, so as if the afterlife might be some mixed world of what craft is like while simultaneously what the afterlife is like.
Yeah.
So it's a weird kind of blend of these things.
Well, developing your telepathic psychic abilities allows you to be in two worlds at once. I mean, when I can talk to David, like I was talking to David. It was really interesting talking to David after he left his body. But when you contact to have that communication, that other side, as we call it, or that different dimension, there's such you tap into this eternal carefreeness, like eternal joy, eternal peace. Like you tap into that
Right,
when
the
you.
tranquility. Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not a sleepy tranquility like we often think of peace. It's like a joyous, excited,
Right.
like
Beautiful.
just carefreeness. Like I don't care that people are hating me or down on earth and saying that I'm a disinformation spirit. Like as the David embodied, he cared about that. When he's not embodied, don't care. Like this carefreeness. It's
Right.
just
Yes.
such a
Yes.
beautiful energy. Yeah, but
Yes.
as a psychic,
Yeah.
you live between. You live
Purity.
in
Purity.
purity.
Yeah.
joy.
If
Yeah.
the childlike purity, it's my wife's mother passed away, and we both of us were be able to communicate and feel her, and she was this, she grew up in World War II and had a bit of a
Uh-huh.
different mentality. She
Uh-huh.
was known to be a bit harsh sometimes, but she did
Yeah.
have she had a weird free ability, something about her was kind of freeing when she got into the old folks home. She had a bit of something was coming out that was a bit more enlightened. Yeah. And then when
Yeah.
she passed on, we felt her being this like bubbly, bright, yeah, child free energy, just
Childlike. Yeah.
completely
Yeah.
amazed, like love and happy. And yeah, it
My
was like startling for both of us. We could both
Yeah,
feel it.
because it
It's very
wasn't as you
interesting.
knew. My
Yeah.
my daughter's Bubby Nini, her dad's mum died last year at 100, and she had a bit of dementia before she died, as you could imagine when you're 100, but not too bad. But after she passed, she was just like you say, like a child. She was haunting me. She was making
Right.
things fall off the wall. She was flashing
Yeah.
my lights.
Yeah.
She
We had
she
that here
was on.
too.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, is that you, Bubby Nini? You trying
Yeah.
to haunt me? And she was giggling and laughing like that was,
Yeah.
but that's who she was as a younger woman. Like she was
Right.
naughty and a bit of a trickster.
Right.
And she became very conservative, older woman. But when she returned to spirit, she had that playfulness. Yes, just beautiful, just beautiful.
Yeah.
There's a question here from Pamela. Do the Greys have different purposes from each other? Good question, Pamela.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I can't tell what's going on with all the multiplicity of stuff. I really can't. It's like I think I take a perspective that our reality, the non-human intelligence that's interacting with humanity is much more controlled. And then who is talking publicly is all planned. There's a lot more a lot more kind of planned. It doesn't mean there isn't other races and other things going on. I can't speak to it. And I notice when some people say, oh, there's these evil gray aliens, and then I go look at that story, I'm like, oh, they're not technically evil, but I can
No.
see that they're dealing with a different personality. The human's a different type of personality, and they might get a bit more, rough, because they were rough with me too, but I had a different approach. And I think that mental approach forms the relationship, therefore forms how they behave. And I think I'm still of the mind we're dealing with a single thing that's originating from a single source that might be
Yeah.
manifesting different ways. So I from what I see is a species that's all kind of trying to do the same thing, which is work with us, hybridize, warning us, and then there's kind of similar concepts all being expressed in it. And then sometimes you have different varieties of ideas. Yeah, maybe tall grays and short grays, but there's just so much similarity that I'm largely convinced we're just kind of dealing with one thing that's all kind of that's all under one umbrella, and
I'm going to have
that might be manifesting different ways for different people.
different ways, exactly. I'm going to have a stab at that. Because they're talking to me about it. They're saying that do the Greys have different purposes from each other? And they said, yeah, absolutely, much like humans. But the difference between, not talking about all aliens, but let's just talk about the Greys and many, is that they have one purpose, which is to work for the collective, which we as humans don't. Like our desires are about, what can I, me, what can I get? Me. Whereas their desires are more collectively focused. So it feels more unified. It feels more robotic. It feels so different to what we understand. Their purpose, they have different purposes, but the one overarching purpose is for the collective. Yeah. Like what's good for the collective rather than what does my personal desires, like what do I want? But then they're saying that they still have desires, personal desires. Like they're not complete robots where it's only about, it's like, I'm just thinking about Kevin Briggs.
Interesting. Yeah.
Talking to a Grey who drives ships.
I can believe that.
And talking about Sue Walker and the Ponte looking at Earth and looking at the way humans live, and then them having desires like, ooh, I want to know what it feels like to eat that or to wear that hat or to dress up like that.
That is definitely true. Yeah.
Yeah. So they still have personal desire, but the overarching thing is the collective desire. Yeah.
Yeah, that's 100% true. And that would be expressed with my own relationship with my elder, who definitely expresses personal interest. personal
Uh-huh.
desire, personal interest, personal curiosity about something.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, but it's always going to be within the framework or an umbrella of this
Of the
larger purpose that I think
collective.
is
Yeah.
governed on a grand scale. Yeah.
Yeah. Darling one, we've run out of time. We've run out of
Oh,
time. Always a joy and a pleasure and absolutely
yeah.
fascinating talking to you. And thank
Yeah,
you for
Karen.
doing what
Yeah.
you do.
Thank you for doing
yeah,
what you do. Yeah.
yeah. And just reminding people, I've got a webpage as a link under the in the description where you can find all Jeff's links: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and he's got his websites on there too, jeffselver.com. Yeah, you've got a few things on your website, but if you want to support ATP Media, we didn't talk about the second book. I was planning on talking about that. Love to get you, but the workbook. But because well, I was planning on talking about that, but we've run out of time. Yeah, if you want to buy the books on my Amazon links and give the show a couple of cents, you can do that on the link, or you can go straight to Amazon or Jeff's website to get the books. And always a pleasure. Thanks, everybody. Happy Mother's Day to all of you.
Happy Mother's Day, everybody. Yeah.
Remember that mothering energy is God energy, is you energy, is
Beautiful.
higher self energy. It's not just about females and someone that gave birth to you. And thanks again, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Yeah.
Big love to all of you. Thanks. Bye for now.